Hello, I'm Father John Delaney. I'm one of the Franciscan friars here at Walsingham at the Basilica of Our Lady of Walsingham. Thank you for joining us for this 33 days preparation for consecration to Jesus through Mary, using the method developed by Father Michael Gately. As we prayerfully prepare for the historic rededication of England as the Dowry of Mary, may we invite you to join us each day for a short reflection and prayer. Day 2. St. Louis' influence on the Church. There's a story from St. Louis de Montfort's life that particularly expresses his passion, which we pondered just yesterday. In the town of Pontchâteau, St. Louis inspired the peasants to build a huge monument to the Passion of Christ on a neighbouring hill. For 15 months, hundreds of peasants volunteered their skills and labour to build it. When completed, it stood as a massive structure, a real labour of love. And on the day before it was supposed to be dedicated by the bishop, word got back to Louis that his enemies had convinced the government to destroy it. When Louis received this disappointing news, he told the thousands of people who had gathered for the blessing ceremony, "We had hoped to build a Calvary here. Let us build it in our hearts. Blessed be God." One thing about doing the Lord's work, it doesn't always turn out according to our plans. For example, St. Louis surely had planned that his monument to Christ would last for more than a day. Yet the saint obediently accepted the destruction of his plans and blessed God. Because of this kind of detachment from his own will and attachment to God's, Louis became an instrument used by God to accomplish even mightier works. So although his physical monument was destroyed, Louis' teaching eventually became a huge edifice in the Church that exercised great influence on many popes and on Catholic spirituality. Indeed, de Montfort's passionate labours paid off in the end, even if he didn't see the fruit himself. As we are just beginning our preparation for consecration to Jesus through Mary, let us ponder some of the support various popes have given to St. Louis' teaching. May the testimony of their support strengthen our resolve to journey on to Consecration Day. And may it help us to trust that our consecration truly will bear great fruit in our lives, even if we don't yet fully understand how. Blessed Pope Pius IX stated that St. Louis' devotion to Mary is the best and most acceptable form. Pope Leo XIII not only beatified St. Louis de Montfort in 1888, but granted a church indulgence to Catholics who consecrate themselves to Mary using de Montfort's formula. Moreover, this pope was reportedly so influenced by St. Louis' efforts to spread the rosary that he wrote 11 encyclicals on this preeminent Marian devotion. St. Pope Pius X, like Leo XIII, also recommended de Montfort's teaching on Mary to the faithful. In fact, he granted a plenary indulgence in perpetuity to anyone who had prayed de Montfort's formula for Marian consecration, and he offered his own apostolic blessing to anyone who would simply read the true devotion. This Pope so strongly encouraged the faithful to follow de Montfort's path of Marian devotion because he himself had experienced its power. In fact, in his Marian encyclical Ad Deum Ilium, the saintly Pope expressed his own dependence on de Montfort's writing, which became obvious when one compares it with true devotion. the Pope's encyclical continually reflects the tone and spirit of de Montfort's classic work, as evidenced by sentences like these. There is no surer, easier way than Mary in uniting all men with Christ. Pope Pius XI simply stated, "I have practiced this devotion ever since my youth." Venerable Pope Pius XII canonized St. Louis in 1947, and in his homily for the Mass of Canonization, he referred to de Montfort's Marian teaching as solid and right. Then when the Pope addressed the pilgrims who had come for the canonization, he said that de Montfort leads us to Mary and from Mary to Jesus, and thus summarizing the meaning of Marian consecration. St. John Paul II promoted de Montfort's teaching more than any other pope. We'll learn more about this during the 4th week of the retreat. It's enough here to recall 2 amazing facts. First, that John Paul's papal motto was totus tuus, totally yours, which he took directly from de Montfort's shorter prayer of consecration. Second, that John Paul II described his reading of true devotion to Mary as a decisive turning point in his life. Today's prayer. Come, Holy Spirit, living in Mary, prepare me to give myself fully to living out this true and solid devotion.